The gentle question that drifts into your mind tonight is simple. What did it truly feel like to stand on the deck of a 19th century steamship as it quietly prepared to leave the harbor? As you settle in, you might notice your breathing softening, your shoulders loosening, and the familiar calmness of sleepful history beginning to wrap around you like a warm blanket. The distant sense of a crackling fire, or the comfort of a still room, helps your thoughts drift into a slower rhythm. And as you feel that calm, let's step together into our opening scene. Before we begin sailing deeper, may I ask where you're listening from tonight, and what time it is over there? If you enjoy peaceful storytelling like this, you're welcome to tap the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support truly helps this small channel continue creating gentle history for sleep. Now, let's imagine the moment when the steamship rests in the early morning harbor, surrounded by cool air that carries hints of moisture. The sky shows soft, muted colors, and the ship remains almost perfectly still, as if taking one last quiet breath before the journey begins. Passengers step onto the deck with slow, deliberate movements, adjusting coats, holding travel bags, and settling into the idea of days at sea ahead. The wooden boards of the deck give off a faint, comforting sound under each step. There's a gentle vibration beneath your feet, the subtle sign that the engine deep below is warming up. It isn't loud or sharp, just a steady pulse that reassures everyone on board that the ship is preparing itself for travel. This soft undercurrent becomes part of the journey, a companion you feel more than you hear. You might notice the way light reflects softly on the metal rails, the way ropes lie neatly coiled, and how every surface seems prepared for the voyage. The ship feels organized, steady, and ready. People move calmly, some gazing at the harbor one more time, others watching birds glide across the sky. Everything unfolds in a slow, unhurried rhythm. Every so often, take a moment to breathe gently. This is your time to unwind. Let the calmness of the scene settle around you. On the upper deck, a few early risers lean against the railing, quietly observing the horizon. Their voices are low, the kind of quiet conversation carried more by comfort than urgency. You can almost imagine the soft rustle of coats catching a small breeze as they wait for the ship to begin its slow departure. Further along the deck, a crew member tightens a line with practiced hands. There's no rush, only routine motions done with familiarity. Passengers notice these actions and feel reassured by the smooth coordination. The entire ship seems to be waking up in its own gentle way, easing gradually into the day. Some passengers lift their faces to the cool morning air. The temperature feels fresh, not sharp, almost like it's reminding them that the journey ahead will have its own calm rhythm. A few people sit quietly on benches, simply absorbing the moment, allowing their thoughts to drift like soft waves. As you listen, if you feel yourself sinking a little deeper into relaxation, that's completely fine. This is a story meant to help your mind slow down. The harbor water moves with a steady, slow motion, gently pressing against the ship's hull. It's a calming sound, not forceful, not restless, just a natural, rhythmic movement. Every so often, a small splash or ripple reaches the ear, adding a soft layer to the atmosphere. A light mist forms above the water, blurring the distant silhouettes of other ships resting nearby. Some are smaller sailing vessels, others quiet steamships like this one. Their outlines appear softened by the morning haze, creating a peaceful scene where nothing pushes for attention. Passengers begin to scatter themselves around the deck, each finding a comfortable place to stand or sit. Some lean on the railing, watching the shifting reflections in the water. Others gently pace back and forth, absorbing the feeling of being surrounded by open space. Notice how your own thoughts begin to slow as well, following the same unhurried pace. A few distant sounds echo across the harbor, muted footsteps on wooden planks, a soft call from a crew member, and the faint thrum of machinery adjusting in the background. None of it feels intrusive. Everything blends into a single, calm environment. The air carries a mild scent of the sea, clean and slightly cool, as if inviting passengers to leave behind the weight of everyday life. The ship offers a quiet promise of separation from the busy world, letting people drift into a slower, more reflective journey. Up ahead, the sky brightens a little more, creating soft shadows across the deck. The light isn't strong. It feels gentle, almost protective, allowing passengers to sink into the moment without being stirred awake by anything harsh. And as another soft reminder, you're welcome to let your breathing fall into a slow, steady rhythm. This is your space to relax. Some passengers glance toward the gangway, noticing the last few crew members performing final checks. Luggage is secured, small adjustments are made to ropes and equipment, and brief nods are exchanged. Everything feels coordinated and calm, preparing the ship for its gradual departure. The steamship's whistle gives a low, mellow sound, not sharp or alarming, but warm, signaling that the journey will soon begin. People pause for a moment, taking in the quiet significance of leaving the harbour and entering the open sea. The ship begins to shift ever so slightly, a gentle motion that passengers can feel through the soles of their shoes. It isn't sudden or dramatic. It's more like the ship is slowly stretching after a long rest, preparing itself to glide away from the harbour. People respond with small smiles or thoughtful looks, sensing the transition without needing to say a word. Ropes are loosened with practiced ease, and the distance between the ship and the dock begins to widen inch by inch. The movement is so smooth that some passengers only notice it when the view around them changes. The buildings on the shore seem to drift backward, growing softer and farther away with each passing moment. A few passengers keep their eyes fixed on the slowly shifting coastline, watching familiar outlines fade into softer shapes. The harbour sounds grow quieter, turning into gentle echoes that blend naturally with the calm morning air. There's a sense of beginning, but also a soothing release from whatever was left behind on land. As you listen, allow yourself to drift with that same sense of gentle release. Let your thoughts loosen, as if the ship is carrying them away at an easy pace. The engine's steady hum becomes just a bit smoother as the ship enters open water. It creates a soft rhythm beneath everything, a sound that passengers will soon grow used to, like a natural part of the environment. The vibration underfoot is mild, almost comforting, as if the ship is reassuring them that it knows the way. Crew members maintain quiet communication, using calm hand gestures and soft instructions. Their movements are efficient but not hurried, giving the whole scene a sense of peaceful order. Passengers observe this from a distance, feeling reassured by the ship's steady coordination. Up on the deck, the early morning light becomes slightly warmer. Shadows stretch in gentle angles, and the sea begins to reflect soft colors that shift slowly with the sky. The water is calm, forming a broad surface that glimmers subtly each time the ship moves forward. Some passengers close their eyes for a moment, simply enjoying the breeze brushing lightly across their faces. It's a simple sensation, yet relaxing enough to quiet even the busiest thoughts. For some, this is the first truly peaceful moment they've had in days. A soft reminder for you as well. Let the calm air of this scene settle into your breathing. You're doing wonderfully, allowing yourself to unwind. The ship continues moving, creating a smooth, predictable sway that becomes part of the experience. It's the kind of motion that can lull even the most alert minds into a gentle, slow rhythm. The sound of the water brushing along the hull adds another layer of quiet comfort. As the harbour grows distant, the sea opens wider around the ship, offering a broad view that feels steady and uncluttered. There is nothing demanding attention, nothing pulling the senses in too many directions. Just open water, soft light, and the reassuring presence of the ship beneath everyone's feet. A faint line of mist lingers on the horizon, creating a soft boundary where the sea meets the sky. It doesn't obscure the view, it simply adds a peaceful texture to the morning scene, blending naturally with the quietness of the moment. Passengers begin to settle into their places for the early part of the journey, some choosing benches, others leaning on the rail to watch the slow passage of the sea. Their movements are unhurried, shaped by the understanding that the voyage will take time, and that there is no need to rush anything. Take a long, slow breath with the ship's motion, if you'd like. This is a gentle moment, and it's perfectly fine to rest your mind here. The coastline is now a soft shape in the distance, almost like a memory rather than a physical place. Passengers shift their attention fully to the open sea ahead, adjusting to the reality that land will not be seen again for some time. The ship, steady and calm, becomes their temporary world. As the morning continues, a warm quietness settles across the deck, shaped by soft footsteps, low conversations, and the steady pulse of the engine below. Nothing interrupts the calm. The day begins with patience, comfort, and the slow drift of a steamship entering the open sea. If you ever feel your thoughts wandering or your eyes growing heavy, that's perfectly natural. This calm, slow-moving world is meant to guide you toward rest, one gentle moment at a time. The first sensations of the engine's presence begin not with sound, but with feeling. A soft vibration travels through the wooden floorboards, subtle enough that many passengers mistake it for their own heartbeat at first. The steam engine deep within the ship isn't loud or forceful. Instead, it breathes in steady cycles, warming slowly as pressure builds in controlled pulses. This quiet rhythm becomes a companion throughout the journey, a kind of gentle backdrop that helps thoughts slow down and settle. Even the faint echo of metal shifting feels calm, like the ship is preparing itself with patience rather than urgency. It's a soothing foundation that shapes everything that happens on board. Down below, the engineering crew moves in steady, well-practiced patterns. They check gauges, adjust valves, and monitor the simmering warmth of the boiler. None of their actions are rushed, because everything on a steamship depends on consistent, balanced care. The heat rising from the machinery spreads through the room in waves, creating a soft haze that blurs the outlines of pipes and railings. The sound here is a gentle mix of hissing steam and low hums, blending in a surprisingly comforting way. Even though passengers rarely see this place, its atmosphere supports the calmness they feel above. The steam itself moves through iron channels like a warm wind, pushing the pistons with a smooth, repeating motion. Each cycle creates the familiar thump and glide that defines the ship's travel. Instead of disrupting the environment, the movement settles into a predictable rhythm, one that people unconsciously sync their thoughts to. The engine becomes a slow, steady heartbeat that guides the entire vessel forward. It's easy to imagine how many travelers found this repetitive sound relaxing during long voyages. If your breathing naturally slows as you imagine this rhythm, that is perfectly welcome. The steady pulse of the ship encourages a calmer mind. Back on the passenger deck, the soft vibration beneath the feet is barely noticeable unless someone stands still and focuses. It's delicate, like a whisper through the floorboards. Some passengers describe it as soothing, a sign that everything is functioning quietly and properly. The combination of the cool sea air above and the warm engine below creates a balanced environment that encourages relaxation. Even those who typically feel restless often find themselves settling into the ship's rhythm without effort. Farther inside the vessel, the hallways carry faint echoes of the engine's motion. The wooden walls absorb most of the sound, leaving behind only a light hum that drifts through the corridors like background air. Lamps flicker gently with the ship's small movements, creating shifting patterns of soft, yellow light. These little details make the interior feel warm and calm, like a sheltered space separated from the noise of the outside world. Some passengers pause as they walk through these hallways, taking in the steady thrum beneath the surfaces. It reminds them that the ship is working steadily, guiding them through open waters with quiet confidence. The atmosphere encourages slower steps and gentler movements, contributing to a sense of peaceful travel that wraps around everyone on board. A soft reminder: allow the steady rhythm of this place to guide your thoughts downward into calmness. There's no hurry here. In a small corner of the ship, near the engine room's entrance, the glow of warm light spills out each time a crew member opens the door. The warmth is immediate but not overwhelming, a sign of the energy being generated below. The smell of heated metal and steam lingers briefly before fading back into the clean air of the ship's interior. Passengers who pass by this area sometimes pause just long enough to appreciate the quiet power that fuels the entire journey. When the ship begins to pick up a bit of speed, the engine's pulse shifts slightly, creating a smoother and more confident vibration. This change is gentle, barely noticeable unless one focuses on the sensation. The deck responds with a faint, rhythmic sway that pairs naturally with the engine cycle. Together, they create a layered calm that passengers feel through every surface of the ship. In cabin spaces, the engine's presence becomes even softer. Quilts, wooden walls, and simple furnishings absorb the majority of the sound, leaving behind only a quiet murmur. It's the kind of ambient noise that encourages rest, steady, predictable, and soothing. Many travelers find themselves drifting into sleep more easily with this background sound than they ever expected. If your mind begins to drift lightly, that is completely natural. This environment welcomes gentle, wandering thoughts. The deeper the ship moves into open water, the more smoothly the engine settles into its rhythm. The pistons move with uniform grace, the boiler maintains its warmth, and the pipes channel steam with consistent flow. Everything functions in harmony, creating a stable, peaceful atmosphere that passengers rely on for comfort during long stretches of sea. Near the heart of the vessel, the machinery's movement feels almost like breathing, expanding and releasing in controlled cycles. The crew, familiar with every sound, takes comfort in this consistency. When everything is running smoothly, they can tell without even looking at a gauge. It's a reassuring sign that the voyage is progressing just as it should. Higher above, passengers unknowingly benefit from this stability. They feel only the mildest reminders of the engine's work, a soft vibration, a gentle hum, and an occasional shift in rhythm as the ship adjusts to currents. These sensations form a kind of quiet presence that follows them through the day, never intrusive, always steady. The ship continues forward with this peaceful pulse, carrying everyone farther from the coastline and deeper into the open sea. The morning light softens, the deck moves gently, and the engine provides its consistent, soothing background. Everything blends into a calm experience shaped by warm machinery, cool air, and slow, steady motion. Another soft reminder: you can let your thoughts ride the gentle rhythm of this steamship, easing gradually into rest. As the ship settles into its cruising rhythm, the engine's pulse becomes part of the natural environment. The vibrations are gentle enough that passengers barely notice them unless they pause and truly focus. Still, the effect is unmistakable: a slow easing of tension in the shoulders, a quieting of the mind, and a sense of being carried forward by something calm and steady. The ship feels grounded in its purpose, moving with a pace that encourages everyone on board to breathe a little deeper and think a little softer. Inside certain parts of the vessel, the gentle resonance of the engine travels through the wooden beams like a soft, repeating hum. It doesn't disturb conversation or rest. Instead, it becomes a peaceful background layer that gives the ship a unique atmosphere. The lighting in these spaces tends to be warm and muted, with shadows that sway lightly each time the ship shifts in the water. It creates a sense of enclosure that feels safe and quietly restful, something passengers grow surprisingly attached to during long journeys. Occasionally, the engine shifts its rhythm as the crew adjusts pressure or as the ship meets a new current. These changes are subtle, more like the ship adjusting its posture than altering its movement. A brief pause, a softer thump, or a smoother glide through the water can be felt in small waves throughout the interior. Passengers learn to recognize these shifts as part of the ship's natural personality, signs that the vessel is responding thoughtfully to the environment around it. If you find yourself relaxing into these subtle sensations, that's perfectly fitting. This kind of atmosphere naturally encourages a softer, slower state of mind. Back in the engine room, the crew continues their routine with practiced confidence. They monitor gauges with calm attention, ensuring the steam stays at a steady level and the pistons remain well lubricated. Tools clink softly, steam sighs through narrow openings, and metal components respond with gentle warmth. Everything works in cooperation, forming a mechanical harmony that requires both knowledge and patience. Although few passengers ever see this, they benefit from every careful adjustment. The ship's movement across the water reflects the engine's steadiness. It glides with an even, measured motion, creating gentle rocking patterns that can lull anyone into deeper relaxation. The water brushing along the hull adds a soothing whisper, merging with the engine's hum into a single, calming soundscape. For many passengers, this combination becomes a kind of natural lullaby, one that brings comfort even during long, quiet nights at sea. Farther up on the deck, passengers feel the engine's influence only as a subtle undercurrent. The deck vibrates faintly beneath their feet, affirming that the ship is working steadily below. Combined with the fresh air and open sky, This creates an environment where time feels slower and the world seems softer. People lean against railings, breathe in the sea air, and let their thoughts wander aimlessly, carried by the same rhythm that moves the vessel across the water. Another gentle reminder: allow the ship's quiet pulse to guide your mind toward peaceful drifting. This is a moment without urgency. Within the interior cabins, the engine's influence becomes a quiet murmur softened by walls, fabric, and wooden furniture. It feels like a soft presence in the background, steady, repetitive, and reassuring. Many passengers describe falling asleep more easily than expected, soothed by the consistency of the engine's hum and the subtle rocking of the ship. Even during the day, the calm sound encourages restful pauses and slow, thoughtful moments. As the ship continues forward, the engine maintains its calm rhythm, providing the steady foundation for every experience on board. Its gentle pulse supports the quiet atmosphere in the cabins, the peaceful sway on deck, and the sense of safety felt by all who travel with it. Though passengers rarely think about the machinery itself, they feel its comforting influence throughout the journey. The deeper the vessel moves into the open sea, the more unified the ship's motions, sounds, and vibrations become. The engine hums, the water whispers, and the deck shifts with smooth regularity. Everything works together to create an environment perfectly suited for reflection, rest, and quiet thought. It becomes clear why many travelers describe steamship voyages as uniquely calming experiences. As your thoughts drift with the ship's steady motion, allow the calmness of this moment to settle deeper into your breathing. The journey continues gently, carrying everyone forward in a soft, rhythmic embrace shaped by the heart of the steamship itself. Morning arrives gently on the open deck, not with sudden brightness but with a soft glow that gradually spreads across the wooden planks. Passengers step out of their cabins, moving at an unhurried pace as they adjust to the calmness of the open sea. Some carry light shawls to protect themselves from the cool air. Others simply fold their arms and take long, quiet breaths. The deck becomes a place where thoughts stretch out slowly, following the rhythm of the ship's movement. Each detail, from the soft creak of wood to the faint brush of wind, adds to the peaceful atmosphere passengers settle into each day. A few travelers begin their gentle strolls along the railings, pacing slowly from bow to stern. These walks are not meant for exercise but for easing the mind. The sea stretches outward in all directions, forming a broad, shifting surface that reflects the morning light in subtle tones. No one hurries. Footsteps fall lightly, blending with the calm pulse of the ship beneath them. Some pause to lean on the railing, watching the water fold and unfold as the vessel glides forward. It's a moment of quiet observation shared by people who might not even speak to one another. Inside their thoughts, passengers often find a sense of grounding on these quiet morning walks. There is no need to think about destinations, schedules, or responsibilities. The deck becomes a drifting sanctuary, an open, moving room where the horizon offers a sense of simplicity. Conversations, if they happen at all, are muted and unhurried. People speak softly, as though matching the tranquility of the sea. A few carry small journals or folded letters, using the gentle motion of the ship as a backdrop for their quiet reflection. If you feel yourself matching this slower pace, that is perfectly natural. The rhythm of the deck invites the mind to follow its calm flow. On one side of the deck, some passengers choose to sit on simple wooden benches arranged along the rail. The benches are smooth from years of use, warmed slightly by the morning light. Passengers settle there for long stretches, gazing outward or simply letting their eyes drift across the shifting patterns of the water. Even those who typically fidget or grow restless find themselves unexpectedly patient here. The environment naturally encourages stillness. Closer to the center of the deck, a few passengers unfold blankets or adjust travel coats before taking a seat near sheltered corners. These spots offer a break from the occasional breeze and create small pockets of quiet comfort. People often close their eyes here, listening to the distant rush of water along the hull. It's a sound that blends seamlessly with the gentle hum of the engine, forming a soft background that helps thoughts settle like sand in clear water. Other travelers prefer to stand for long periods, resting their elbows on the rail and letting their gaze drift across the vastness ahead. The view never stays the same. The texture of the sea changes with each shift of light and breeze, creating a slow-moving landscape that feels both familiar and calming. Passengers follow these changes with quiet curiosity, not expecting anything dramatic, but appreciating the gentle movement all the same. Every now and then, allow your own thoughts to drift with that same ease. This moment is meant to feel spacious and calm. Toward the bow, the wind feels slightly stronger, brushing gently against coats and scarves. Some passengers enjoy standing here for a few minutes, feeling the motion of the ship more directly. The air carries a freshness that clears the mind without overwhelming it. Even brief visits to this part of the deck leave people feeling lighter, as if the sea breeze has gently smoothed the edges of their thoughts. Halfway down the deck, the ship's crew passes occasionally with quiet steps and purposeful calm. Their presence adds a steady balance to the space, reassuring without intruding. They move efficiently but never rush, contributing to the overall sense that the day's routines unfold naturally, without pressure or urgency. Passengers step aside with polite nods, then continue their tranquil walks as the crew disappears around corners. In the quieter areas, some passengers bring small books, turning pages slowly as they read. The gentle rocking of the ship creates a natural pause between paragraphs. Others simply rest their hands in their laps, absorbing the soothing sounds around them. The morning routine on deck is less about activity and more about settling into a peaceful rhythm, one shaped by the soft sway of the vessel and the quiet presence of open water. A gentle reminder for you: if your thoughts begin to soften or stretch out, let them. The slow cadence of the ship encourages exactly that. As the sun climbs a little higher, its warmth spreads gradually across the deck. Shadows shift into gentle angles, creating patterns that move with the vessel's subtle sway. Passengers adjust to the changing light without breaking their calm routines. Some remove shawls, while others lean back, letting their faces rest in the comfortable brightness. Nothing disrupts the atmosphere of stillness. Farther back on the deck, a few travelers gather near sheltered spots where conversation is easier. Their voices remain low and steady, rising and falling softly with the rhythm of the ship. They speak of simple things: how long the voyage might last, what the weather feels like today, or memories of previous travels. Their words blend with the environment, adding a human softness to the otherwise wide-open quietness. Some people, especially those new to sea travel, take time to observe the deck's small details. The texture of the ropes, the weathered lines in the wooden boards, the metal fixtures polished by years of use, all contribute to the ship's character. These simple observations offer a grounding sensation, a way to feel connected to the journey without needing to focus on anything complex. If your breathing naturally slows as you imagine these quiet scenes, you're settling into the rhythm beautifully. At the edges of the deck, the sound of the sea is clearer. The water brushes along the hull in a soothing, repeating whisper that passengers often pause to appreciate. It's not a loud sound. It's more like a gentle reminder of the ship's continuous, steady movement. Many travelers linger near these spots simply to absorb that quiet cadence. As the day begins to unfold, the routines on deck continue to slow the mind and soften the senses. Travelers find themselves moving with more ease, speaking with more softness, and thinking with more space. The ship's gentle sway and the calm expanse of the sea create a shared environment of quiet reflection, one that lingers long after passengers return to their cabins. As the day progresses, the deck becomes a natural gathering place where passengers settle into their own quiet rituals. Some choose the shaded areas, where the breeze drifts gently across the wooden planks. They rest their hands on the railing or fold them calmly in their laps, observing the sea as it rises and falls in slow patterns. Others prefer standing in the open, letting the sunlight warm their shoulders. The wide, uninterrupted horizon gives the mind room to breathe, creating a sense of spaciousness that makes every thought feel softer and lighter. Along the midsection of the deck, a few passengers pause to stretch, rolling their shoulders or leaning slightly against the railing. The movement isn't about exercise. It's simply a natural response to the steady rhythm of the ship. The deck sways with predictable calm, inviting the body to loosen and follow the motion. People begin to sense the subtle harmony between themselves and the ship, a quiet connection formed not through effort but through shared stillness. The longer they remain here, the more natural the rhythm feels. If your own thoughts feel like they're gently swaying with this motion, you're settling in just as comfortably as the passengers did. In certain corners of the deck, travelers gather to enjoy peaceful pockets of shade. These sheltered spots allow them to observe the movement around them without being drawn into it. Some passengers pull travel journals from their bags, their handwriting slowing with the ship's easy rhythm. Others hold warm cups of tea or water, feeling the vessel's gentle pulse through the cup surface. These small details create a sense of presence, an awareness of the moment that feels grounding and calm. Nearby, a few passengers drift toward the outer edges of the railings, where the sea's voice is a little clearer. The sound is never overwhelming. Instead, it's a soft, repeating whisper that pairs naturally with the quiet vibrations beneath their feet. People lean forward slightly, letting the cool breeze wash across their faces. The experience draws their attention inward, offering a moment of reflection shaped by nothing more than water, wind, and steady motion. As you imagine this, allow your own breathing to align with the ship's calm rhythm. Toward the stern, the deck opens into a wider viewing area. The movement of the ship feels slightly more pronounced here, creating a gentle rise and fall that many passengers find soothing. They often stand in silence, watching the water churn softly behind the vessel. The patterns formed by the ship's wake shift constantly, drawing the eye in slow spirals. Watching these patterns is almost meditative, offering a quiet rhythm that encourages the mind to release tension. Farther along, a few travelers find quiet companionship in simply sharing the same view. They don't need to talk. Their presence side by side is enough. The open sea acts as a natural anchor for their attention, giving everyone something spacious and calm to focus on. Their thoughts drift in parallel, carried by the gentle continuity of the voyage. A soft reminder, you're welcome to let your attention rest on any detail that feels calming, movement, sound, or the simple idea of open space. Later in the day, the light shifts into softer tones, painting the deck with gentle warmth. Passengers adjust their positions, some moving into the sun's glow while others seek the cooler shade. This slow shifting from one spot to another becomes its own quiet ritual. No one rushes, no one pushes for space. The deck naturally expands to accommodate the calm stillness of everyone aboard. Along the railings, some passengers begin noticing small details, the shimmer of sunlight on distant waves, the slight differences in the sea's color, or the way the ship's shadow glides along the water. These observations are simple, yet they draw the mind into an unhurried state of curiosity. Even repetitive sights feel comforting, like pages in a familiar book. There's a soothing reliability in the sea's motion, supported by the ship's gentle sway. With each passing hour, the deck settles further into its peaceful rhythm. Travelers stretch out their legs, rest their backs, or let their hands hang loosely at their sides. The day unfolds slowly, shaped not by tasks or obligations, but by the calm consistency of the voyage. It becomes clear why many passengers cherish these daily routines. They offer a rare kind of quiet, the kind that wraps softly around the mind and encourages restful drifting. And as you continue listening, you're welcome to let that same quiet touch your thoughts, easing them into gentle stillness as the ship glides calmly across the open sea. Inside the steamship, the cabins offer a gentle contrast to the openness of the deck. The moment passengers step through the interior corridors, the sounds of the sea soften, replaced by the quiet murmur of the ship's wooden frame adjusting to the water. The walls are close but not confining, warmed slightly by the soft glow of the lamps that line the hallway. Each cabin door looks similar, simple wood, polished by years of use, hinting at countless journeys before this one. The atmosphere here encourages slower steps and quieter breaths, inviting passengers to settle into a more sheltered rhythm. Within each cabin, the space feels modest yet thoughtfully arranged. Beds are narrow but comfortable enough for long nights at sea, and linens are neatly folded with a simplicity that reflects the practical nature of the voyage. A small table, a pair of hooks for clothing, and a compact wash basin complete the room. The gentle vibration from the engine below travels through the floor and up the walls, creating a soft, steady hum that many travelers find unexpectedly soothing. Lamps flicker with the ship's subtle motions, casting calm, shifting shapes that help ease the mind into stillness. Some passengers sit quietly on the edge of their beds, letting their eyes drift across the familiar details of the room. They notice the pattern of the wooden grain, the way light rests on the corners of the furniture, or the small movements of curtains swaying with the ship's rhythm. These simple details give the cabin an intimate, grounding quality. It becomes a personal refuge where the noise of the world feels distant, replaced by the comfort of gentle repetition and slow, steady motion. If you feel your thoughts beginning to soften as you imagine this small, peaceful space, you're settling in just as the passengers did. Farther down the corridor, shared compartments offer places where travelers can meet without feeling obligated to speak or socialize. These areas contain sturdy tables, smooth benches, and soft lighting that fills the room without being harsh. People drift in and out through the day, writing letters, reading books, or simply resting their hands on the wooden surfaces. The sounds here remain subdued, shaped by quiet footsteps and the soft turning of pages. Even in shared spaces, the ship seems to encourage calm. Some passengers use these communal rooms as a place to reflect. They bring small journals, sketch simple scenes from memory, or write notes to loved ones waiting far away. The atmosphere encourages long pauses and gentle contemplation. The ship's gentle movement turns these ordinary moments into something meditative. There is no pressure to be productive, just space to sit, breathe, and exist in the calmness of the voyage. Occasionally, the ship shifts slightly as it meets a new current, and the room responds with a soft sway. Lamps swing in barely noticeable arcs, and shadows drift across the tabletops. Instead of feeling disruptive, the motion gently reminds everyone that they are traveling through wide, open water. The experience brings a sense of connection between the passengers and the journey, a reminder that they are part of something quietly moving forward. A soft reminder: allow these slow movements and gentle sounds to guide your breathing into a steady, relaxed rhythm. In one corner of the shared space, a small shelf holds simple items placed there for the comfort of travelers: an extra blanket, a worn deck of cards, a few well-used books left behind by previous passengers. These objects carry no extravagance, but they offer small threads of comfort. People pick them up with a kind of quiet gratitude, appreciating the familiarity in their texture and weight. Each one contributes to the ship's calm character. Between the cabins and shared rooms, the hallways themselves hold a particular charm. The narrow passages are lit by evenly spaced lamps, their glow reflecting off polished wooden surfaces. The air carries a mild mixture of sea breeze and the warm, interior scent of the ship. Footsteps echo softly here, creating a rhythmic pattern that blends with the distant hum of the engine. Travelers often walk these halls without hurry, allowing the corridor's peaceful atmosphere to set their pace. Some passengers enjoy pausing at small portholes set into the walls, watching the sea slip past at a steady pace. The circular frames create miniature scenes of rolling water and shifting light, like moving paintings that change with the hour. For some, these quiet glimpses at the outside world become a cherished part of their routine, a moment where everything feels both close and far away at the same time. If your mind drifts gently with these images, that is exactly the kind of calm this part of the journey offers. Toward the center of the ship, the atmosphere grows slightly warmer as the influence of the engine subtly rises. The warmth is gentle, not overwhelming, and it gives the interior a feeling of comfort, especially on cooler days. Passengers walking through these sections often feel a natural sense of ease, as though the ship is gently encouraging them to relax and let go of any remaining tension. At times, the soft clatter of utensils from the galley blends with the muted sounds of movement in the hall. These noises remain faint, never disrupting the calm. Instead, they add texture to the interior soundscape, reminding passengers that the ship is a shared space where everyone moves quietly together. The harmony of these small sounds shapes the ship's identity: patient, warm, and settled. The deeper into the interior one walks, the more insulated the environment becomes from the open sea. The rooms carry a sense of quiet shelter, protecting passengers from the wind while still allowing the ship's gentle motion to be felt. These interior spaces become a kind of cocoon, a place where travelers can rest deeply without losing connection to the journey outside. Near the lower levels of the interior, the ship's gentle vibrations become slightly more noticeable, creating a soft, rhythmic pulse that runs beneath every surface. Passengers walking through these corridors often feel as though the ship is quietly guiding their steps. The walls are lined with polished wood that reflects the warm glow of nearby lamps, creating an inviting contrast to the cool air outside. Travelers moving through this area naturally lower their voices, sensing the peacefulness that fills the space. It's a part of the ship that carries a uniquely calm atmosphere, shaped by the steady hum of the engine and the comfort of enclosed warmth. Just beyond these corridors lies another shared room where passengers often gather during slower hours of the day. The furnishings are simple: smooth tables, sturdy benches, and a few cushioned seats placed near the walls. Lamps cast soft halos of light that gently illuminate the room, creating a space where people can rest posture and mind alike. Some travelers sit with hands folded, listening quietly to the distant sounds of the ship. Others lean forward with thoughtful expressions, observing the subtle sway of the hanging lamps as the vessel moves through the water. If you sense yourself settling deeper into that same quiet sway, you're following the rhythm exactly as the passengers did. On a long shelf near the wall, a few practical items are arranged neatly for communal use. A simple sewing kit, a small tin of writing supplies, and a couple of folded blankets offer small comforts to travelers who might need them. These objects may seem modest, but their presence reassures passengers that the ship provides for them in thoughtful ways. People pick them up carefully, use them quietly, and return them with the same gentle respect. The routine feels almost meditative, shaped by the stillness of the room. In another corner, a row of small portholes allows light to spill into the shared space in shifting patterns. Passengers often pause here, drawn by the subtle movement of reflections dancing across the walls. Through these round windows, the sea passes in silent waves, displaying a soft blend of blues and greys that shift with the hour. Travelers stand and watch for minutes at a time, letting the outside world drift by like a slow-moving painting that asks nothing of them except quiet attention. A soft reminder: allow your thoughts to follow these drifting scenes. They encourage a comfortable stillness. Farther along, the door to another corridor stands slightly ajar, revealing a narrow passage lined with evenly spaced lamps. When the ship sways gently, their light shifts in delicate arcs along the walls. Passengers walking through this area often slow their steps without meaning to, caught by the calm rhythm of the surroundings. It feels like passing through a long, peaceful tunnel, where each step echoes softly and the outside world fades even further into the background. Beyond the corridor lies a smaller, quieter room where only a few passengers tend to go. This space feels like a hidden retreat, insulated from footsteps and conversation. A single lamp glows from the corner, illuminating the room in warm, steady light. The wooden floor here carries the faintest hum of the engine below. People who enter this room often lower onto seats or benches with a deep, silent exhale, letting the stillness envelop them. Inside cabins nearby, the ship's motion becomes even more gentle. Beds sway slightly with the movement of the sea, guiding passengers into natural moments of rest. Curtains lift and fall with the ship's breath, and the walls hold a quiet warmth that feels reassuring. These cabins serve as personal sanctuaries where travelers can retreat when the day's calm feels especially inviting. If you imagine settling into one of these resting spaces, let the sense of quiet wrap around your thoughts like a soft blanket. At certain hours, hallways brighten just enough to show the grain of the wood, revealing patterns shaped by time and countless journeys. Passengers walking through these halls often feel a quiet connection to those who traveled before them, drawn not by imagination but by the simple comfort of familiar textures. The environment encourages gentle reflection, the kind that asks nothing and allows the mind to drift freely. As night approaches, the interior of the ship softens even further. Lamps glow with lower intensity, footsteps become quieter, and the hum of the engine forms a deeper, more soothing undercurrent. Travelers begin moving silently to their cabins, their pace slow and unhurried. The ship feels like it's settling into a nighttime rhythm of its own, calm and steady. The day's routines fade into a quiet harmony as the vessel continues forward. Within these cabins and shared spaces, passengers find rest in the simplest comforts: warmth, gentle light, soft motion, and the peaceful hum of a ship traveling through open water. Everything becomes part of a soothing environment where the mind can loosen and drift without effort. The ship's dining routine begins with quiet footsteps drifting toward the galley, carried along the wooden corridors in a slow, unhurried pattern. The scent of warm food moves gently through the air, nothing rich or overwhelming, just simple aromas that bring comfort to travelers far from land. As passengers enter the shared dining area, they find long wooden tables, neatly arranged bowls, and utensils placed with practical care. The atmosphere remains calm, shaped by soft murmurs and the steady hum of the ship beneath them. Everything about the space encourages a relaxed, unhurried meal. The meals themselves reflect the reality of long sea journeys. Bread that has been stored carefully for days, warm broths made from ingredients that travel well, and vegetables softened into simple stews fill the bowls of passengers who take their seats. The dishes are plain but familiar, offering warmth rather than indulgence. Each spoonful carries the comfort of routine, grounding travelers who may still feel the gentle motion of the ship beneath their feet. For many, the simplicity becomes part of the charm of steamship travel. If you can imagine the warmth of these quiet meals, let that small sense of comfort steady your thoughts. Along the length of the table, people eat slowly, matching their pace to the ship's steady rhythm. Conversations remain soft and brief, polite exchanges about the weather, the sea's movement, or how long the journey might continue. Even the clinking of spoons against bowls feels subdued, softened by the hum of the engine and the muted acoustics of the wooden walls. For passengers unused to long voyages, this gentle environment eases them into the calmness of shared routine. At the far side of the dining room, a small window allows a sliver of natural light to fall across the tables. The shifting glow moves gently with the ship, tracing quiet patterns on the surface of plates and bowls. Some passengers pause between bites just to watch the changing reflections. The view isn't dramatic, only the sea passing steadily beyond the glass, but its presence adds a quiet sense of connection to the world outside. Closer to the galley, the ship's cooks move with steady, practiced motions. Their tasks are simple: stir, ladle, portion, refill. Yet there is a calm rhythm to their work, shaped by the limitations of the kitchen and the slow pace of life at sea. Steam rises in soft curls from pots, spreading warmth that mingles with the scent of bread and broth. Even the sounds of preparation, soft chopping, gentle stirring, become part of the ship's quiet atmosphere. Some passengers bring their bowls to seats near the walls, preferring the steady support of the wooden benches. They sit with relaxed posture, taking slow bites while letting the motion of the vessel soothe their senses. The rocking of the ship creates a natural rhythm that pairs easily with the meal, turning even a simple dish into a peaceful part of the day. A soft reminder: if imagining this quiet dining scene helps your thoughts drift, let them drift gently. Further down the room, a few travelers linger after finishing their meal, hands loosely resting around warm cups. The heat spreads through their fingers, grounding them in the moment. The ship continues to move with gentle predictability, creating a soft vibration that settles into the wood beneath them. These small pauses, moments of calm between activities, become as meaningful as the meals themselves. At times, the ship shifts slightly in response to distant waves, causing bowls to slide just a fraction across the table. Passengers instinctively steady them with quiet amusement, the motion so familiar that it becomes part of the rhythm of eating at sea. No one seems bothered. The movement blends naturally into the environment, adding a subtle reminder that they are traveling across open water. Some travelers choose to sit alone during mealtimes, savoring the peaceful environment without conversation. They take slow spoonfuls while watching shadows move across the room or listening to the soft murmur of distant footsteps. This solitude isn't isolating. It's a gentle moment of personal reflection, supported by the ship's calming motion. If you feel yourself settling into the rhythm of this scene, allow it to soften your thoughts. Near the door, a few empty bowls stack neatly as passengers finish their meals and return to the deck or back to their cabins. The dining area gradually quiets again, filling with only the soft sounds of the galley and the steady hum of the ship. These intervals between meals are part of the routine, creating a gentle cycle that guides the day. In the corners of the room, The soft light reveals details that might otherwise go unnoticed: the worn edges of the tabletops, the subtle patterns in the wood, the small knots and imperfections that give each surface a lived-in character. These simple textures offer a grounding presence, reminding travelers that the ship has carried many journeys before this one. As the meal period ends, a peaceful hush settles over the shared space. The sounds soften, conversations fade, and the room returns to its earlier calm. Passengers step out into the corridor with slower breaths and rested expressions. Each meal, though simple, plays a part in shaping the comforting rhythm of life aboard the steamship. As the day continues, the galley becomes active again with quiet preparation for the next meal. The cooks move with steady coordination, working in a space much smaller than kitchens on land. They rely on organization rather than speed, placing ingredients within easy reach, warming pots gradually, and adjusting to the ship's gentle movements. The soft clatter of cooking tools blends into the background, forming a subtle rhythm that accompanies the ship's steady pulse. Even the warm air drifting from the galley feels calming, carrying hints of food that signal comfort rather than urgency. Further along the dining area, a few passengers return early, seeking a moment of stillness before the next gathering. They sit quietly at the long tables, resting hands against smooth surfaces worn by countless travelers before them. Some breathe deeply, letting the calm settle through their shoulders. Others gaze out the window, watching as the sea rolls in calm waves. The combination of warm light, gentle motion, and peaceful company transforms the dining room into a soft retreat between the routines of the day. If you feel your own thoughts loosening in this atmosphere, let them settle naturally. When the next meal is served, passengers enter with calm familiarity, taking their seats without hurry. The dishes are simple: stewed vegetables, warm broth, and carefully stored grains, but the warmth they bring offers a consistent comfort. People lift spoons in unhurried motions, listening to the quiet, steady symphony of small sounds: the whisper of clothing, the soft thud of bowls, the muted hum of the ship. These moments of shared quietness weave together into a gentle rhythm that shapes the day aboard. As the ship moves through slightly stronger currents, the dining room sways with a soft, rolling motion. Bowls shift gently, and passengers instinctively steady their cups. The movement isn't unsettling. It's simply part of the experience, a reminder that the sea remains present even inside the shelter of the ship. Many find this sway soothing, allowing it to guide their breathing into slower, steadier patterns. In sections of the room near the walls, small conversations unfold with warmth and patience. Passengers share small observations about the voyage: how calm the morning felt, how the light changed on the water, or how familiar the rhythm of the ship has become. These exchanges remain quiet, shaped by the gentle environment. No one raises their voice. No one rushes their words. Instead, the dining space becomes a place where time feels stretched and softened. A soft reminder: let this slow, shared rhythm settle into your breathing, just as it did for the travelers. After the meal, passengers gradually stand and return their bowls to the galley window. They move with an easy, relaxed pace, giving the room a sense of quiet closure. The cooks begin cleaning with steady motions, wiping wooden counters, washing utensils, preparing the space for the next cycle. Their tasks carry a peaceful predictability, forming a comforting routine that repeats day after day. Some travelers linger briefly near the exit, pausing to adjust coats or observe the way the light shifts across the room. The gentle warmth of the space encourages them to linger, but eventually they drift back into the corridors, carried by the slow rhythm of the ship. The dining area gradually empties, leaving only the faint hum of the engine and the soft clinking of dishes being cleaned. Farther inside the ship, passengers return to their cabins or wander toward the deck, carrying with them the warmth of the meal and the calmness it brings. The consistency of mealtimes becomes something they rely on, not for excitement, but for comfort. The simple act of eating together creates a quiet sense of connection among strangers sharing the same long journey. As the last sounds from the galley fade into the corridor, a deep stillness settles over the ship once more. The atmosphere returns to its peaceful baseline, shaped by the murmuring engine and the soft sway of the vessel. Travelers breathe a little easier, feeling nourished not only by the food but by the gentle ritual of coming together in a place shaped by calmness and routine. And if imagining this scene softens the edges of your own thoughts, allow that comfort to linger as the journey quietly continues. The weather becomes one of the quiet companions of every steamship journey. Each morning, passengers step onto the deck to see how the sea has chosen to present itself that day. Sometimes the water lies smooth as brushed metal, reflecting the sky in muted tones that calm the senses. Other times, small rolling waves create shifting patterns that glimmer softly beneath the light. These changes are never abrupt. They unfold gradually, offering travelers a slow-moving landscape that invites unhurried observation. Each shift becomes part of the ship's gentle rhythm. On calmer days, the horizon appears wide and steady, stretching outward until it blends softly with the sky. Passengers lean on the railings, watching the subtle transitions of color, from pale blues in the morning to warmer tones as the day progresses. The air is cool, carrying the scent of the sea in a way that feels refreshing rather than sharp. People breathe deeply, allowing the spaciousness of the view to clear their thoughts. The quiet openness of the scene has a way of loosening the mind, making space for slower and more peaceful reflection. If you feel your thoughts softening with this calm horizon, let them drift gently. When the weather shifts slightly, the sea takes on a different personality. Small ripples begin to move across the surface, catching light in delicate fragments. Passengers notice the gentle rise and fall beneath the ship, a rhythmic sway that settles into their awareness without effort. The deck feels alive, but in a soft and unobtrusive way. Some travelers find themselves closing their eyes to better feel the motion, allowing the slow rocking to guide their breathing into a steady pattern. At times, clouds drift lazily across the sky, adding depth to the scene. They move in long, soft formations, shaping the light in ways that create quiet beauty. Shadows fall across the water, creating shifting layers that passengers often watch with long, thoughtful gazes. Nothing about the display feels dramatic. The sea and sky simply move at their own gentle pace, inviting observers to slow their thoughts and settle into the calm. Along the starboard side, passengers gather in small clusters, resting elbows on the railing as they watch the colors change above them. The wind moves lightly through coats and shawls, creating a whispering sound that blends with the soft brush of water along the hull. The environment becomes a peaceful tapestry of sensations: cool air, gentle motion, quiet light. Many travelers find that these quiet weather moments become their favorite part of the journey. A gentle reminder: let the slow movement of the sea guide your breathing into a calmer rhythm. On breezier days, the ship meets slightly livelier waves. The movement remains gentle, but more noticeable, enough to create a soothing rise and fall motion beneath the deck. Passengers sway with it naturally, adjusting their posture without thinking. Some steady their hands on the railing, watching small sprays of water lift briefly before settling back into the sea. There's no urgency in the movement, only a quiet reminder that the ocean continues its slow, steady patterns. Near the bow, the wind carries more texture, lifting strands of hair and brushing softly against cheeks. Passengers stand with relaxed shoulders, letting the air refresh them. The scent of the sea deepens here, bringing a grounding sensation that feels almost meditative. It's not about bracing against the weather, it's about letting the natural elements pass through their awareness with ease. In quieter moments, the sky opens into wide, gentle brightness. Light rests softly across the deck, creating warm highlights on the wooden railings. Passengers shift into these sunlit patches, warming their hands or leaning back with half-closed eyes. The warmth isn't intense. It's the kind that encourages stillness rather than activity. People settle into these pockets of sunlight like cats finding a comfortable place to rest. If your thoughts drift into one of these warm patches, allow them to settle gently. Occasionally, distant patches of mist roll across the sea, softening the view like a natural veil. The mist doesn't conceal the world, it simply softens its edges, creating a dreamlike atmosphere. Passengers often stand quietly during these moments, embracing the stillness. The quiet blurring of the horizon encourages introspection, as if the world outside is giving permission for the mind to drift inward. Farther along the deck, The movement of the water creates low, rhythmic sounds that blend with the engine's hum. These sounds never compete. They merge into a layered calm that fills the space. People pause to listen, not actively, but as if the sounds naturally settle into their awareness. The sea's voice, gentle and steady, becomes a soothing companion throughout the day. As the weather shifts through these subtle moods, passengers develop a quiet appreciation for each change. The scene never remains the same, but its transitions are patient and calming. Travelers learn to watch the sky and water as though reading the soft pages of a slow-moving story, one that needs no urgency or conclusion. A soft reminder, you can let your mind drift with these changing moods, just as the passengers did. As the day continues, the gentle interplay of sea and sky shapes the atmosphere on deck, giving each hour its own subtle tone. Whether the water lies still or ripples lightly, the ship moves with steady calm, carrying its passengers deeper into the peaceful rhythm of the voyage. As the afternoon unfolds, the sea often takes on more texture, forming rolling patterns that reflect the shifting light. Passengers feel the ship respond with a slow, rhythmic lift that settles again with gentle precision. The deck begins to sway in a way that feels almost like breathing, a natural rise and fall that guides footsteps into softer patterns. People pause at the railings, their bodies adjusting effortlessly to the movement. This quiet dance between ship and sea becomes part of the daily experience, shaping the calm atmosphere felt throughout the voyage. Farther toward the stern, passengers gather where the wind is milder. The wake of the ship stretches outward in a widening path, creating swirling trails that dissolve naturally back into the water. Travelers watch these patterns with quiet fascination, often losing track of time as the moving shapes hold their attention. The scene is simple, yet deeply soothing, a kind of gentle visual rhythm that eases the mind without any effort. Some linger there to listen to the soft rumble of the water, paired with the ship's steady pulse. If your thoughts begin to move with that same unhurried rhythm, let them drift comfortably. Occasionally, the sky shifts into muted tones as clouds gather overhead. They roll slowly, creating layered shadows across the deck and sea. Passengers adjust their coats or shawls, but the mood remains calm. The subdued light makes the world feel softer, quieter, as though the day is gently lowering its volume. People continue their slow walks, embracing the cooler air and the peaceful grey that settles over the horizon. It's a different kind of beauty, calm, steady, and grounding. When the breeze grows slightly stronger, the ship leans gently into the movement. The motion never feels alarming. Instead, it carries the sensation of being cradled within the sea's wide rhythm. Passengers instinctively extend a hand to steady themselves, their fingers brushing along smooth railings. These moments add texture to the journey, small reminders that the ocean is alive with motion, yet still patient and welcoming. A soft reminder, allow the gentle sway to ease your thoughts, just as it did for travelers aboard the steamship. In quieter pockets of the deck, sheltered from the wind, passengers sit on benches arranged along the sides. The air feels still here, as though the ship's structure shields them from the shifting weather. They watch the sky open and close with clouds, feel the pulse of the vessel through the boards beneath their feet, and listen to the muted sounds of water breaking softly along the hull. These sheltered areas become favored spots for quiet reflection. As evening approaches, the light begins to soften into warm, fading hues. Shadows stretch long across the deck, and the sea deepens into cool blues and greys. Passengers gather one last time to take in the shifting sky, leaning gently on the railings as the day draws down. The air carries a cooler touch now, brushing softly across faces and hands. People draw closer into coats or scarves, not from discomfort but from a simple desire for warmth as the daylight wanes. Along the horizon, a subtle glow lingers where the sun lowers toward the sea. It isn't intense, just a soft layer of light that blends gently with the darker tones around it. Travelers watch quietly, appreciating the quiet simplicity of the scene. The ship continues its steady motion, unaffected by the change in color or temperature. Its consistent rhythm offers a grounding presence amid the shifting sky. If your breathing begins to match the slowing pace of the evening, allow it to continue gently. With the light dimming, the sea takes on a smooth, reflective quality. The surface glimmers faintly, catching the last hints of day. Passengers watch these small glints as though they're watching the final notes of a calm song drift away. The wind settles, the waves soften, and the ship moves forward with steady resolve. The atmosphere becomes serene, shaped by the quiet partnership of sky, sea, and motion. As night begins to gather, a deeper sense of stillness settles across the deck. The transitions of the day, warmth, breeze, cloud, and fading light, merge into a unified calm. Travelers linger in the cool air a moment longer before retreating to cabins or shared spaces inside. They leave behind a deck wrapped in quiet tones, carrying with them the soothing memory of a day shaped by gentle weather and slow, undisturbed rhythm. Entertainment aboard a 19th century steamship rarely involved anything loud or elaborate. Instead, passengers gravitated toward quiet, familiar pastimes that matched the gentle pace of life at sea. As the ship drifted through open water, people settled into simple routines, reading a worn book, sketching in small journals, or sharing soft conversations near sheltered corners of the deck. These activities created a calm rhythm that filled the empty hours, turning each day into a sequence of peaceful pauses rather than structured events. Some passengers found comfort in card games played with slow, deliberate movements. The sound of cards being placed on wooden tables was faint but satisfying, blending naturally into the background hum of the ship. These games were less about competition and more about passing time together in quiet companionship. The gentle rocking of the vessel often encouraged slower hands, thoughtful gestures, and the kind of silence that felt warm rather than empty. Even those watching from the sidelines found the atmosphere soothing. If you imagine these soft, steady pastimes and feel your thoughts loosening, that's completely natural. Elsewhere on the deck, a few travelers gathered to observe seabirds gliding near the ship. Some birds followed the vessel for long stretches, dipping and rising with the wind. Their movements mesmerized passengers, giving them something gentle to focus on during long hours. The birds seemed to understand the ship's rhythm, drifting alongside as though sharing the journey. People watched quietly, letting their minds wander with each sweeping arc of wings. Others spent their time journaling, allowing the slow pace of the voyage to guide their handwriting. The ship's gentle sway made every line slightly curved, giving the pages a soft, wavering charm. Passengers wrote about the sea, the weather, or small thoughts that arose when the world grew quiet enough to hear them. These journals became treasured companions, offering a private space to think without the noise of daily life. Toward midday, some travelers sought out the quieter corners of the interior, where the soft lighting and warmth made reading especially comforting. They tucked themselves into simple chairs or small benches, absorbing the gentle vibration of the ship as they turned pages. Time moved differently in these spaces, slowly, steadily, making it easy to linger in a single paragraph or drift into quiet thought. A gentle reminder, you can let your own attention settle the same way, drifting at a pace that feels comfortable and unhurried. Along the starboard side, a few passengers formed small groups to share stories. Their voices remained low, shaped by the peaceful atmosphere around them. The stories were rarely dramatic. Instead, they captured simple memories of past travels, familiar towns, or quiet experiences at home. These conversations carried a gentle warmth, connecting people who might never meet again after the voyage. The sea's motion occasionally filled the pauses between words, creating a natural rhythm for their exchanges. Some travelers preferred watching the ever-changing surface of the ocean. They leaned quietly against the railings, following the patterns of waves as if tracing lines in a soft, shifting canvas. The view offered endless moments of quiet study, ripples forming and disappearing, reflections sliding across the water, and distant shapes moving with the horizon. These simple scenes held the kind of calm that encouraged the mind to rest. Near the center of the deck, a few passengers brought along small instruments. Nothing loud, nothing sharp, just gentle tones meant for personal enjoyment. Soft melodies drifted quietly through the air, barely louder than the ship's hum. These simple tunes blended seamlessly with the environment, adding a peaceful layer to the atmosphere without disturbing the silence others cherished. It was the kind of music that seemed to drift in and out like a soft breeze. If imagining these calm moments makes your thoughts sway gently, you're settling in just as the passengers did. As the day continued, passengers found their own ways to pass time, none rushed, none demanding attention. The beauty of entertainment on a steamship was its simplicity. It allowed travelers to slow down, reflect, and enjoy the quiet companionship of others or the gentle solitude of the sea. The ship's steady movement provided the perfect backdrop for these peaceful routines, shaping a day that unfolded softly from one moment to the next. As afternoon settles across the deck, the ship becomes a gentle stage for quiet activities. Some passengers take slow walks along the railings, pausing now and then to observe the waves catching the light in shifting patterns. Their steps fall into rhythm with the ship's sway, creating a steady cadence that feels almost meditative. These walks are never hurried. They're simply moments to enjoy the air, loosen the mind, and let the sea's presence guide their thoughts into softer spaces. Toward the shaded side of the vessel, a few travelers gather at long benches arranged against the wall. They sit with relaxed posture, enjoying the balance between cool shade and the distant warmth of the sunlit deck. Here, people sometimes share quiet stories, soft recollections of daily life, gentle memories, or thoughtful reflections inspired by the journey. Their voices blend naturally with the steady background of the ship, forming a soft harmony that fills the space without disturbing the calm. If your thoughts begin drifting at the same slow pace, you're following the rhythm perfectly. Elsewhere, some passengers spend time practicing small, delicate hobbies. A traveler might stitch a simple fabric pattern, carefully following each thread as the ship gently rocks. Another might carve a small piece of wood into a familiar shape, letting each movement of the knife match the ship's slow sway. These quiet crafts aren't rushed. They unfold with patience, shaped by the calmness of the day. Watching these activities can be just as soothing as doing them. A few passengers lean over the railing to watch sea foam stretch into swirling forms behind the ship. The patterns appear and fade within seconds, yet each one carries its own soft beauty. Travelers often lose track of time watching the foam dance in the wake. The movement feels hypnotic, repeating but never identical, mirroring the gentle unpredictability of the sea. Inside the ship, the interior rooms hold their own quiet energy. Some travelers gather in shared spaces to read aloud in soft voices, choosing stories that match the calmness of the voyage. Others simply sit and listen, letting the gentle sound of spoken words ease their minds. Lamps cast warm pools of light across the tables, creating a soft haven away from the breeze outside. A gentle reminder: allow your attention to rest wherever it feels most at ease in these scenes. During the late afternoon, the sunlight shifts and grows warmer, casting soft golden tones across the deck. Passengers respond naturally, moving into the light to warm their hands or leaning back against the railings with a slow, contented breath. The ship's motion remains steady, creating a soothing backdrop for these restful moments. Some begin sketching the horizon, capturing the subtle transitions of color that unfold across sea and sky. In the quieter corners, a few travelers play simple board games. The soft tapping of pieces against the wood echoes gently, and their whispered strategies add a tender human touch to the calm environment. Even when a light laugh rises from the group, it settles quickly back into the peaceful rhythm of the ship. At the far end of the deck, a small gathering forms to watch the distant shapes of clouds shifting on the horizon. These clouds move slowly, offering a kind of visual company to the passengers. Some stand with hands clasped behind their backs, others rest elbows on the railing. They watch the sky change shape, color, and depth as the ship continues its unhurried movement across the water. If the gentle mood of these scenes has begun to soften your thoughts, let that calmness stay with you. As the day leans toward evening, the passengers' activities continue in this unpressured rhythm. Some finish their games, others close their books, and a few simply remain where they are, gazing out at the sea. There is no schedule dictating what must come next. Instead, time feels fluid, stretching and folding in quiet waves that mirror the motion of the ship itself. Across the deck and down into the shared rooms, everything settles into a deeper quiet. The sun lowers, the breeze cools, and the ship maintains its steady hum. In this calm transition, passengers carry with them the softness of the day, a tapestry of simple activities, gentle companionship, and unhurried moments spent drifting peacefully across open water. The quiet routines of the crew form the unseen backbone of the steamship's calm journey. While passengers drift between decks, meals, and peaceful pastimes, the crew moves with steady purpose through the ship's passageways. Each member tends to a specific duty, creating a rhythm of work that feels both practiced and harmonious. Their footsteps echo softly along narrow corridors, their movements shaped by familiarity with every bolt, rope, and panel aboard. This steady activity, though rarely noticed directly by passengers, keeps the ship running with quiet assurance. Near the heart of the vessel, a few crew members tend to the engine with deliberate care. They monitor its gentle pulse, adjusting valves, and keeping the machinery balanced through each shift in weather and current. Their tasks require focus, yet nothing feels rushed. The warmth radiating from the engine room creates a calm backdrop for their work, and their coordinated motions resemble a slow, purposeful dance. Every adjustment keeps the ship gliding steadily, allowing passengers above to enjoy the voyage without interruption. If you imagine these steady motions and feel your thoughts slowing, let that softness continue. Elsewhere on the ship, deckhands move along the outer railings, checking lines and securing equipment. They handle ropes with practiced hands, pulling and tying with a smoothness born from repetition. The sea breeze brushes past their coats as they work, carrying the scent of salt and the distant hum of the ship. Their focus remains steady, shaped by the need to keep surfaces safe and equipment ready for any change in weather. Even their smallest tasks contribute to the seamless experience passengers feel on deck. Inside the ship's interior, another group of crew members walks the hallways to ensure everything remains in order. They adjust lanterns, straighten benches, and keep the shared spaces welcoming. Their presence is quiet but reassuring, a reminder that the ship is cared for at every level. Passengers often notice these small touches: a clean table, a properly closed door, a neatly aligned lamp, but rarely think about the calm coordination behind them. Farther toward the bow, officers stand watch with calm attention. They observe the horizon, monitor the ship's direction, and track subtle changes in sea conditions. Their expressions remain steady, shaped by experience and patience. The bridge is a space of quiet discipline, where voices stay soft and decisions are made with careful deliberation. Although passengers seldom see this part of the ship, they benefit from every thoughtful adjustment that keeps the vessel moving safely through open water. A gentle reminder: let the quiet dedication of the crew ease your own thoughts into a calmer rhythm. Throughout the day, the ship's cooks also perform their own quiet labor. They prepare simple meals with consistent care, working within the constraints of a compact galley. The clinking of utensils, the soft crackle of heat warming pots, and the faint aroma of simmering broth blend into the ship's natural soundscape. Their routines shape the comforting rhythm of mealtimes, giving passengers a sense of structure without pressure or rush. Meanwhile, the stewards move gracefully between cabins and shared spaces. They check on linens, tidy small areas, and ensure that travelers have what they need for a restful journey. Their gestures are gentle, respectful, and unintrusive. These small acts of care create the peaceful baseline that passengers feel each time they return to their rooms. Further down the ship, maintenance crew members inspect tools, tighten fixtures, and make sure that every essential part of the vessel remains secure. Their work rarely draws attention, but its importance is reflected in the smoothness of the ship's motion and the reliability of every sound. The quiet way they move gives passengers a sense of safety, even if they never meet face to face. If picturing these steady routines helps you relax deeper into the journey, let that feeling settle comfortably. Even during the calmer hours of the afternoon, the crew remains attentive. Some walk the decks with watchful eyes, noting changes in wind or waves. Others adjust small components or check ropes that shift with the ship's motion. Their combined effort ensures that the vessel behaves predictably, responding gently to the sea and maintaining the tranquil environment passengers enjoy. As afternoon shifts toward early evening, the crew continues their quiet routines with the same steady discipline. Deckhands check the ropes once more, ensuring each line remains secure as the ship meets new stretches of open water. Their movements are smooth and efficient, shaped by years of experience and countless voyages. Even the sound of ropes sliding through their hands feels purposeful, blending naturally with the soft hum of the engine and the whisper of wind along the deck railings. These small moments of attention keep the ship balanced and comfortable for everyone aboard. Inside the ship's lower corridors, maintenance crew members perform their rounds with methodical patience. They inspect hinges, tighten bolts, and ensure the wooden panels remain strong against the ship's motion. The faint clinks of their tools echo softly through the halls, creating a rhythm that passengers rarely notice directly but benefit from constantly. Each adjustment, no matter how small, contributes to the ship's steady performance, allowing the interior to remain peaceful even as the sea shifts outside. If imagining this steady, thoughtful work brings a sense of calm, let that feeling settle smoothly. In the galley, the cooks prepare for the upcoming evening meal. They chop vegetables with slow, even strokes, simmer broths to warm consistency, and portion ingredients carefully to ensure every passenger receives a comforting bowl. Their workspace remains compact, yet their movements are measured and calm. The gentle aroma of warm food drifts into the nearby corridor, creating a moment of simple comfort for anyone who walks by. The soft crackle of heat and the muted rattle of cookware become part of the ship's evening soundscape. Meanwhile, stewards move through the passenger cabins, adjusting lamps and ensuring everything remains in its proper place before nightfall. They smooth linens, reposition small items that may have shifted with the ship's motion, and create a sense of order that helps passengers settle easily into rest. Their quiet presence supports the ship's atmosphere of calm, turning each cabin into a comfortable retreat from the growing coolness outside. Farther up near the bow, the officers maintain their steady watch over the horizon. They track changes in wind and current, adjusting the ship's path with practiced familiarity. Their conversations remain low and focused, carried out in soft tones that match the quiet nature of the vessel. From this vantage point, they observe the faint line where sea meets sky, ensuring the ship glides smoothly into the evening hours without interruption. A soft reminder: allow the ship's reliable pace to guide your thoughts into deeper simplicity. Below the main deck, the engine crew monitors the machinery as daylight begins to fade. They adjust pressure valves, ensure fuel is regulated properly, and listen carefully for any subtle change in rhythm. The engine's warm pulse remains steady, radiating a gentle heat into the surrounding metal and wood. The crew knows its sounds intimately, responding to the slightest shift with patient precision. Their presence keeps the heart of the ship beating with calm assurance. Back on the upper decks, a few crew members walk their final rounds before evening. They check railings, secure loose items, and look for anything that may need attention as night approaches. Their movements blend into the softening atmosphere, the sky dimming, the breeze cooling, and passengers settling into quieter routines. The deck becomes a serene stretch of wood and horizon, framed by the crew's steady presence. As the crew completes their tasks, the ship enters a period of quiet readiness. Lamps glow warmly along the interior corridors, the engine hums with smooth continuity, and the sea reflects the last hues of the day. All the small efforts of the crew come together to create a tranquil environment where passengers can rest without worry. Their dedication remains mostly unseen, yet deeply felt in every calm, steady moment of the voyage. And if the steadiness of their work brings your thoughts into a gentler rhythm, allow that softness to continue as the journey drifts toward evening. When night begins to settle over the steamship, the atmosphere shifts into a deeper calm. The bright tones of day fade into soft shades of blue and grey, and the deck becomes quieter as passengers move more slowly through the open spaces. Lanterns are lit one by one, casting warm pockets of light across the wooden planks. These soft glows create gentle islands of brightness surrounded by cool night air. The sound of the sea grows slightly fuller, but not louder, just more present, like a slow, steady whisper accompanying the darkening sky. As the temperature cools, passengers pull their coats a little closer and linger near the railings to watch the horizon dim. The sea reflects fading light in subtle streaks that shimmer across the surface before blending gently into the surrounding darkness. Some travelers look upward, letting their eyes adjust to the widening night sky. Stars appear gradually, scattered across the darkness in soft clusters. Their presence offers a quiet sense of scale without overwhelming the moment. If the stillness of this scene begins to soften your thoughts, allow it to settle comfortably. Farther along the deck, the wind carries a cool but gentle edge, brushing against faces and stirring the hems of coats. It's not harsh, just enough to remind passengers that the open sea holds its own nighttime breath. The ship moves steadily, creating a smooth, rolling motion that feels different in the dark. Without the bright horizon to anchor the view, travelers rely more on sensation, the sway beneath their feet, the hum of the engine, the soft push of the breeze. The lanterns along the walkway flicker slightly with each shift of the wind. Their light dances on the wooden boards, creating small, shifting pools of brightness that drift with the ship's motion. Passengers walking through these lit paths move more quietly than during the day, as though the darker environment naturally encourages softer footsteps and gentler conversations. The night seems to invite reflection, guiding thoughts into slower, quieter spaces. Inside the ship, the cabins and shared rooms take on a warm, sheltered glow. Lamps illuminate the interior with soft steadiness, offering passengers a place to rest after the long day. The faint vibration of the engine becomes more noticeable at night, not because it grows louder, but because everything else grows quieter. This gentle hum becomes a comforting backdrop, easing passengers toward rest as they prepare for sleep. A gentle reminder: let the calm hum of the ship guide your breathing into an easy, relaxed rhythm. Back on deck, some travelers remain outside to watch the stars more closely. Without the lights of cities or roads, the sky stretches wide above them, filled with gentle flickers. Each star feels distant yet peaceful, offering a quiet companion to the endless expanse of sea below. The ship's lights do not overpower the night. They simply add warm accents along the deck while leaving plenty of space for the sky to shine. A few passengers sit on benches, wrapped in shawls or blankets, enjoying the cool air. They speak rarely, choosing instead to listen, to the water brushing the hull, to the wind shifting through sails and ropes, to the quiet rhythm of footsteps moving in the distance. This blend of sounds forms a nighttime symphony that is soft, layered, and calming, encouraging minds to drift. Some travelers close their eyes, letting the darkness around them become a kind of shelter. Without visual distractions, they tune into the subtle shifts of the ship, the slight rise and fall, the comfortable weight of stillness, the feeling of being carried. Night at sea has a way of creating space for thoughts to unwind, offering a quiet clarity that feels gentle and restful. If picturing this nighttime calm encourages your own thoughts to slow, let that feeling continue. As the night deepens, the sea reflects only hints of light from a ship's lanterns. The rest becomes a smooth, dark canvas dotted with the soft glow of stars. Passengers begin to drift indoors, leaving the deck to the crew and the quiet sound of water moving steadily along the hull. The ship continues forward through the night with steady assurance, offering a serene refuge to all who rest inside. As passengers settle into the quieter hours, the deck becomes a space defined by softness, soft light, soft wind, and soft footsteps that fade almost as soon as they sound. The cool air wraps around the ship, carrying hints of salt and distant waves. A few figures linger along the railing, their silhouettes outlined by lantern glow. They speak in murmurs, if at all, allowing the quiet night to shape their thoughts. The sea's surface, darker now, gently reflects the faint points of starlight, adding a subtle shimmer to the vastness around them. Inside the shared rooms, the warm glow of lamps creates a comforting contrast to the cool deck outside. Some passengers take a few final moments to read, their eyes moving slowly over the text as the ship sways with familiar rhythm. Others simply sit with relaxed posture, listening to the soothing mix of distant waves and the steady hum of the engine. This blend of sounds becomes a natural lullaby, guiding travelers into deeper calm without forcing their thoughts in any direction. If the gentle quiet of this scene relaxes your own thoughts, you can let them drift gently with it. Walking further down the corridors, the ship's motion feels more pronounced in the stillness of night. The subtle rise and fall beneath each step serves as a reminder that the vessel moves continuously through open water. Lanterns sway slightly, casting shifting bands of light on the wooden walls. The sound of footsteps softens into the distance as passengers return to their cabins, leaving an almost meditative silence behind. In the privacy of their rooms, travelers begin preparing for rest. Some sit on the edge of their beds, feeling the slow pulse of the ship beneath them. Others place belongings neatly on tables or adjust their lamps for softer light. The atmosphere carries a sense of unspoken routine, small gestures that ease the body and mind into nighttime stillness. The steady hum of the engine becomes more noticeable here, felt through the floorboards as a calm vibration. It's a presence that reassures rather than distracts. A gentle reminder: allow the soft vibration beneath these scenes to guide your breathing deeper. Back out on the deck, the crew continues their nighttime duties. Their movements are quiet, deliberate, and respectful of the passengers resting inside. They check ropes, scan the horizon, and ensure that every part of the ship remains secure. Their lanterns cast small circles of light that drift across the deck with each step. Though their tasks require attention, their presence feels soothing, a steady assurance that the vessel remains in careful hands throughout the night. Along the far edge of the deck, a passenger or two may linger for a last look at the sky. Stars gather more densely as the night deepens, filling the darkness with gentle pinpoints of light. The sea below reflects only hints of this brightness, creating a layered scene that shifts with the ship's motion. The travelers who stay outside often breathe a little slower, letting the vastness of the sky coax their minds into quiet reflection. As the air grows cooler, the deck gradually empties. The soft sound of the sea remains, brushing consistently against the hull in a gentle rhythm. The wind quiets, the lanterns burn steadily, and the ship continues its calm journey through the dark. Inside, the corridors hold a hushed warmth that beckons passengers to return to rest. If imagining this transition into deeper night makes your thoughts feel lighter, let that gentle shift continue. By the time most passengers fall asleep, the ship has fully embraced the nighttime stillness. The engine's slow pulse echoes through walls and floor, creating a natural backdrop for dreams. The sea outside moves in steady patterns, its presence constant yet soothing. For those who remain awake a little longer, the night offers a rare kind of quiet, one shaped by soft light, steady motion, and the peaceful certainty of being carried across open water. As the voyage moves into its final stretch, the atmosphere aboard the steamship shifts subtly. Passengers begin to sense a quiet anticipation, not hurried or restless, but gentle, like the feeling before stepping onto familiar ground after a long walk. The open sea remains calm, but the horizon takes on a new presence. Shapes appear faintly in the distance, softened by morning light. Travelers step onto the deck with slower, thoughtful motions, observing these emerging outlines as the ship draws a little closer with each passing moment. Along the railings, people gather in small clusters, leaning forward slightly as if to greet the coastline with patient curiosity. The cool air carries a freshness that feels different from the earlier days at sea. It holds a faint hint of land, subtle but recognizable to those who have sailed many times before. Passengers breathe it in with quiet appreciation, allowing the shift in atmosphere to settle into their awareness. They speak softly, if at all, savoring these final hours of calm before the journey transitions into something new. If imagining this gentle anticipation soothes your thoughts, let that feeling rest comfortably. Walking along the deck, travelers notice small changes they may have overlooked before. The sea takes on a different texture here, waves moving with a slightly shallower rhythm, almost as if the water itself is guiding the ship toward the shore. Light reflects in broader, warmer shapes, catching the edges of the vessel in soft glimmers. These subtle shifts bring a sense of grounding, reminding passengers that the long stretch of open water is giving way to a new phase of the journey. Inside the shared rooms, some passengers begin organizing their belongings with unhurried motions. They fold blankets, adjust traveling bags, and gather the small items that accompanied them throughout the voyage. The interior still carries the warmth of the night before, but now there is a quiet movement that wasn't present earlier. Not a rush, just a natural return to readiness. The soft hum of the engine continues beneath the floorboards, steady and familiar, offering comfort as the ship moves closer to land. A gentle reminder: let this slow transition guide your thoughts toward deeper ease rather than urgency. Back on deck, the coastline gradually becomes clearer. Trees, Hills or distant rooftops emerge from the morning haze in soft silhouettes. Passengers watch these shapes without leaning into excitement. Instead, they observe with a calm sense of closure. The ship maintains its steady approach, gliding through the water with the same predictable rhythm that defined the entire voyage. The sea remains patient, carrying the vessel forward without hurry. Some travelers take a final walk along the deck, pausing to appreciate the journey won last time. They touch the railings gently, look across the water with nostalgia, and absorb the quiet atmosphere of early morning light. The breeze feels softer now, carrying fewer traces of salt and more hints of nearby land. The moment feels balanced, one part farewell, one part welcome. If your mind feels drawn into this slow, reflective mood, let it drift at its own peaceful pace. In certain corners of the ship, the crew prepares for arrival with the same calm efficiency seen throughout the voyage. They check ropes, adjust equipment, and confirm the ship's path with quiet coordination. Their movements remain steady and controlled, ensuring that nothing disrupts the peaceful transition for the passengers. Though the tasks carry more significance now, the atmosphere never loses its softness. Inside the cabins, lamps glow gently as travelers perform final checks on their belongings. Some sit on the edge of their beds, taking one last moment to feel the ship's subtle vibration beneath them. Others pause at small portholes, watching the coastline grow clearer with each passing minute. These last moments in the cabin hold a unique calm, a blend of familiarity and quiet anticipation. Outside, the deck has grown livelier, though not louder. People move with purpose but not haste, guided by the same gentle pace that shaped the entire journey. Conversations flow in soft tones, and the shared awareness of nearing land creates a peaceful unity among the passengers. They stand together along the railings, watching the coastline expand into clearer shapes, feeling the ship carry them toward their destination. As the ship draws steadily closer to the coastline, the light along the deck shifts into warmer tones. The sky brightens in soft layers, casting a gentle glow across railings and wooden planks. Passengers pause to appreciate the warmth settling over the ship, watching as shadows stretch and shorten with the movement of the vessel. The sea begins to reflect faint hints of the landscape ahead, a muted blending of greens, browns, and pale morning blues. Everything carries the feeling of a quiet, natural arrival, free from rush or noise. Along the starboard side, a few travelers rest their hands on a railing, gazing at the shore with thoughtful expressions. Their eyes trace the outline of distant hills, rooftops, or trees coming into clearer view. The ship continues forward in its steady rhythm, giving everyone time to absorb the moment without urgency. The cool breeze that once carried the scent of open water now holds gentle hints of land, fresh, subtle, and grounding. It encourages passengers to breathe a little deeper, as if preparing themselves for the next part of their journey. If you feel the same soft settling that the passengers experienced, let it ease your thoughts. Inside the ship, final preparations continue with calm efficiency. Crew members walk the corridors with steady steps, checking doors, adjusting fixtures, and ensuring that everything sits securely as the ship nears the harbour. Their movements reflect the same balance and patience seen throughout the voyage. Passengers organizing their belongings mirror this rhythm, packing slowly, smoothing clothing, and adjusting straps on travel bags. The interior holds a gentle sense of transition, quiet, predictable, and reassuring. Back on the deck, the coastline grows clearer. Details of buildings and natural shapes begin to form with sharper edges. Passengers point quietly to different landmarks, sharing simple observations with those nearby. No one speaks loudly. Their voices remain soft, blending into the breeze. The ship eases closer, and the familiar sounds of coastal life begin to surface. Distant gulls, faint activity from the harbour, and the soft echo of water shifting against the shoreline. A gentle reminder, you can let this slow transition settle into your own breathing, unhurried and calm. As the steamship adjusts its course for docking, the vibration beneath passengers' feet changes subtly. The engine slows, its hum becoming deeper and more deliberate. The ship responds with gentle shifts, aligning itself with the quiet precision of experienced crew members guiding it toward rest. Passengers feel these small movements and naturally adjust their posture, leaning into the railing or stepping aside to give others space. The atmosphere remains peaceful, shaped by anticipation softened by the calm nature of the voyage. Near the bow, the sight of the harbour now stretches clearly before them. Boats resting at anchor, structures lining the water's edge, and subtle signs of daily life beginning ashore. The steamship glides steadily, carried by its own quiet momentum. Passengers sense the nearness of arrival, yet there is no rush to gather belongings or crowd the walkway. Instead, they savour these final minutes at sea, knowing that the journey's gentle rhythm is nearing its close. If your thoughts drift into calm reflection here, let that softness stay with you. As lines are readied and preparations near completion, the ship moves into its final approach. The water grows stiller, the sounds of the harbour more distinct, and the deck fills with a quiet hush. Passengers exchange small smiles or soft nods, sharing an unspoken understanding of the moment. The voyage, shaped by steady motion and peaceful routines, has carried them across the sea with patience and warmth. And as the ship edges closer to its resting place, a sense of gentle closure settles over the passengers, one shaped not by finality, but by quiet gratitude. This journey, with its calm days and soothing nights, becomes a memory they will carry long after stepping onto solid ground. Thank you for listening to this story tonight. May its calm rhythm help guide your thoughts toward rest, and may peace accompany you as your night continues.